Hi, I'm Garbreak1, and this is Midgardia's cool crowdfunding show. I'm here today with Amit Moshe. How's it going?
Going great, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. So you're here today to tell us about Queerz. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Queerz is a Super Sentai, basically anime Power Ranger game, and it's LGBTQ themed. Um, it's a game that we're developing based on the City of Mist system. So, I come from Son of O Game Studio. We created City of Mist system, and this is kind of the first game that we created based on that. And it's created based on an existing manga, which is a really cool um, story that's kind of combines a lot of action, but at the same time, very heartfelt elements. And yeah, we loved it. We wanted to make the game, so that's what happened. Queers happened.
So what do you do in Queerz?
In Queers, you play members of a Super Sentai team, of a superhero team, color coded and the works, who kind of juggle between their everyday lives and fighting something called ignorance, but it's with a capital I. It's this weird glass like substance that affects people and kind of narrows their um, way of thinking, their worldview. And so you end up actually fighting a lot of the time villains in quotes that are kind of affected by ignorance. And what happens is they are kind of unable to maybe the best way to say it is kind of like they go out against who people are. They're unwilling to accept a certain aspect and it changes. Some of those villains themselves are LGBTQ, so it's different aspects that we explore with that. And in Queers, you use your something called the rainbow empathy and a lot of different powers, as well as your feelings, your wisdom, your thinking and expression to fight those villains, but also eventually to kind of redeem them.
Right after you free them from the ignorance that constrains them.
Yeah, exactly. So this substance is kind of taking over their hearts, and you're kind of like, yeah, you can free them from that. That's a part of the game.
Nice, nice. So mechanically, how does Queerz work? Like I know it's based on City of Mist, but how's that go?
Yeah. So every character is made out of tags, about 12 tags you start with, and you can grow. That describe everything about the character, from special abilities, powers, fighting style, to you know personality traits, possessions, things like that. The stuff they have, relationships they have. So it's very free form in the tags, but then it becomes pretty gamey in the sense that whenever you want to take action, you just count the tags that are relevant for the action, and that's your modifier for your 2d6 roll. And from there on, it continues with the classic Powered by the Apocalypse moves that are kind of, they divide the outcome to, miss if you roll six or less, success with complication, and big success or great success. So it's a it's very open ended. You can have any ability in it in terms of like your character build, but at the same time, it has some crunchy elements to it, just to keep it a game and make it interesting.
Right. So if I want to play somebody who's really strong, I'll take tags like really strong, lifts things, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Lifting power, really strong, super power, super strength, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Um, yeah, exactly.
So I see there's a bunch of various boxes on the Kickstarter. So why don't you tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah, the boxes are basically different levels of how deep you want to dive into it and how much you want to put into it. So and they contain each other. So it moves from the basic box to the core box to the adventure box to the fabulous box. And the basic box just has the core rules. It doesn't have character creation. It's more like a starter box, but it does have the rules for players and MCs, which is the name for a GM. And it also has 5 pre-gen characters and some dice. Now we've unlocked a couple of things, so it has all kinds of like cards and stuff like that, maps. So it's kind of equivalent to City of Mist starter box or many other starter boxes that are kind of they walk you through getting into the game. Then in the core box you get the manga itself. You get the first volume of the manga, which is 200 pages, graphic novel. And you get a character creation guide, which has all the content for creating your own character. So that's kind of like getting the core set of a game. And in the adventure tier, in the adventure box, you also get a bunch of dice and enamel pins, a lot of other stuff. But mostly the main edition is an adventure anthology with 3 or more adventure, depending on how much we unlock. We're pretty confident we'll be able to unlock a few more on the way. And the Fabulous box is just like, for those of us who want to go crazy and like to have completion, it's like to have everything. So it has like custom dice that are handcrafted with a gemstone core, really really cool dead center technology. There's also a plushie there. There's a limited edition book. So this is really for the people who kind of like really love it and want to dive in.
Nice. I like that. I like that it comes with a plushie. That's a relative rarity for tabletop games.
Well, we've seen it around, and we're like, yeah, we could do that. We have great characters. We really need to to also address that side of things, just like that you have something cute out of it, and not just like books and dice, which is great too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the dice look real cool as well. I think that's the first time I've heard of any with like a crystal embedded in the center.
Yeah, so it's actually there was a Kickstarter not long ago by I think Spider-Man Games, and they created this technology of the dead center, where they place this gemstone in the middle, and they do it like the eye of a dragon, but we're going to have the Queerz Q on it, and you have like 8 dice in the colors of the rainbow and maybe pink as well, and it's really cool. We're gonna have a different gemstone in each one, and it's very special dice, very kind of. There are also the standard Queerz dice that are included in all the other boxes, but this one's gonna be very special.
Right, and the dice are double sixes. It says. Can you tell me what that means?
Yeah, double sixes is something really cool that I saw a while ago, and we started using this for all the City of Mist products. Double sixes are basically D12s that have 1 to 6, only 1 to 6 on them. So essentially, they roll like a 1d6, even though they are D12s. They roll better because it's a more round than the cubicle dice, and so you roll 2 of them whenever you make a move in Queer.
Okay.
But statistically, it's exactly the same as a D6.
Right on, right on. Can you tell me about the tracking cards? What are those for?
Yeah, so just like the open-ended character creation system with the tags, the damage system in Queerz and in City of Mist is open-ended. It's well, I don't want to say open-ended, but it's very very flexible because it's based on all damage is based on statuses, which are tags with tiers. So you have something like prone 1, and then maybe prone is not a very good, but restrained. Let's take the idea of restrained. You can have restrained from 1 till 6. And that's kind of the range. You use those tracking cards to give yourself different positive and negative statuses. Give your enemies negative statuses. Give your, depending on at what phase of the game. If you're trying to heal them, you'll give them positive statuses. Or if you're trying to free them from ignorance. But when you're still in the fight phase of the game, you want to, smash through like kind of like barriers and creatures and monsters that they create out of ignorance. And, you do that with statuses. So the tracking cards are just like the super easy, device to keep track of everything. It's laminated, of course, and you can reuse it. And the statuses are you come up with pretty crazy things when it's open ended, and you're not like limited to those very very set conditions. So. I mean, in City of Mist, which is a little more gory, one time I had my favorite was like Game Boy and Ribcage 4. because someone used their Game Boy to kill someone else. Well, they propelled with their abilities a Game Boy. So, there's you can do things with it that you can't do that are totally, confined. Obviously, Queerz is a much less gory game, but you can still do things like, you know, I don't know, like I'm trying to
Restrained,
think. What's
yeah,
that?
restrained, slippery,
Yeah, restrained, slippery, dazzled, all kinds of things that you want to do there. Like can't something like, stunned to the point that they can't talk because you said something really on point. There's really no limit to it. You can also give yourself these statuses. So there's a move called Strike a Pose, which is very Sentai. Because whenever you start the combat, you can do Strike a Pose to basically boost yourself exactly towards boost yourself for the upcoming battle or action. And with Queerz, it could be, totally combat Sentai pose, or it could be one of those characters that is a little more flamboyant, so they can do other things as well. And then you give yourself status like, statuses like, I don't know, it depends. And people get super creative, so I don't want to limit it, but it's it could be anything from like glitter to glamour to gorgeous, or to like, ready, or surprise attack, things like that. So
adrenalized, or yeah.
adrenalized, awesome, yeah. So it's really like super, super flexible, super fun at the table. People get really creative.
I'm glad to see statistical effects for like making dramatic tuxedo mask kind of poses.
Totally, that could be totally like respected,
Rose.
or like yeah. So it could really, and you could really go far with both the combat and the social implications, or anything really.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I guess the other big question to address is, who is Queerz for exactly?
Yeah, so this is something that is really important for us to get across. That Queerz is for everyone. The original name of the manga is actually, as the artist Isago shared with me, it's more about queers in the old sense of like different or strange, and the manga is definitely LGBTQ themed, like full on LGBTQ themed, no doubt there. But the idea is that everyone is a little bit different. So some of the characters there want, some of the villains, for example, the villain in the demo game, the free demo game, they kind of had a their hair is, they have red hair and they were mocked for it, and they wanted to be like everyone else, and then it snowballed. So it's not just necessarily I think the LGBTQ community in general is kind of spearheading this idea of accept everyone as they are. Of course, do not accept negative actions or aggressive actions, but learn to accept others in their difference, or in their being different. And yeah, so this game is really about accepting each other, and it's for everyone. It's definitely not something that we made for a specific group of people, because it's the opposite of what the manga is all about.
Yeah, if somebody who's cishet, plays your game, you're not going to come after them with pitchforks.
No.
Well, that's good. we
That's
we prefer not going after people with pitchforks.
We're not a pitchfork. Yeah, and not, we're not in our company, and also not like the spirit of the manga. Absolutely, we are. The opposite is true. We're really trying to get everyone to play this game because we feel there's a really beautiful message behind the manga that we're trying to get into the game, which is kind of learning to reach your enemy rather than just like obliterating them, and see where they come from and what is perceived initially as just like sheer bigotry, which maybe it is, right? We're not actually saying that there is no bigotry. There is definitely bigotry, but there is like a deeper level to it. And why don't we go inside and see what's happening there? How did it all start? And all the villains, we're kind of talking to the writers now and trying to set the boundaries. All the villains are always like redeemable. It's always it's never like just some evil bigot. It's not about that. It's about usually there's some kind of a pain that causes them to want to fix the world and eliminate certain otherness out of it. And it's really cool. I mean, it's beautiful to see it in play. You can, if anyone's interested, we have a really really cool show by Hyper RPG on our Kickstarter page, and they did an amazing job. There's a couple of other actual plays, but this one particularly, I watched it, and they just did an amazing job in getting that heartfelt and action combo.
Yeah, it sounds lovely, and I hear Hyper RPG does a ton of really cool stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely they do.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
the set and everything, the cast, they did an amazing job.
Yeah. Are there any other aspects of Queers that you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, we often talk about the heartfelt stuff. The action is pretty intense as well. So when you're in like the fight phase, um, the villain is still a villain. They're still trying to like take you out, and you're trying to kind of reach them. And it's really beautiful in the manga as well. This is why I personally loved it, because it's a great combination. So the villains can create things out of this glass, this ignorance glass, and initially it's just like stars that they shoot, and you actually don't see it in the first volume of the manga, but because there's a lot of defensive powers that the Queerz use, and it's still like first tier villains. But when it hits you, it does actually something very very interesting that I don't want to spoil at this point. But obviously, it has something to do with inflicting ignorance over you, on you. Sorry. So in combat, it's just like a lot of this glass is flying around, and there's a lot of like defensive moves that you can use. There are a lot of attacks you can use. They also create amazing constructs out of this. So if you think about anime, like full on stuff, some of them one of them fights with this huge swordfish that they make out of it. Another one, the character from the Hyper thing is an artist, and they fought with like this massive paintbrush that they made out of this stuff. So they have really really cool moves. And the Queers are the same. They have all kinds of powers that are more about light and rainbow and being able to shatter that that ignorance, whether it's just like slicing it in half or blasting it to smithereens. And there's a lot of sentai action. There's also rumors about maybe other elements of anime in the future, like maybe mecha, maybe things like that. It's just going to be a super rainbow situation that you can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing Sentai, you gotta have the giant robot at some point, right?
At some point, yeah, exactly.
And combining your disparate things together to make something bigger and better seems like kind of the thesis of Queers.
Totally. Totally, totally, totally. Yeah, some of the things we're going to be adding in the full game are formations, which are ways for, different team members to combine their powers and kind of, create that super mega gun or mega blast and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, the classic Sentai thing where like everybody slaps their gadgets together and four of them just kind of stand nearby while the red one shoots it. Yeah.
Exactly that. That's formations. Yeah, or kind of like put their hands on each other's shoulders and like do absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
and just standing there in a pose. Yep,
We're all
that's
working
it.
together technically.
Technically.
uh
Yeah,
I have a deep soft spot for that general kind of media.
yeah. Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome in play too. It's a lot of fun. I mean, you laugh your head off with this game. It's really.
It seems like there's a good focus on the absurd. Like
Oh yeah, yeah,
over the
totally.
top,
Like,
maybe a better way to put
oh,
it. Yeah.
very over the top. Also, the heroes, but definitely the villains. The villains are, they're just as queer as the heroes, they have these most elaborate like costumes, elaborate constructs, elaborate everything, and it's like so over the top. They're just so dramatic, and so it's really funny to see to see these some of these characters are so oblivious to they themselves being a little a little dramatic and definitely being different in their own unique way.
Dude doing weird poses with 20 leather belts, being like, "No, I'm the most normal person in Japan. What's up?"
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Also, the art in this is lovely.
Yeah, this is we're very kind of like a comic book themed company. We love this type of art. City of Mist is very graphic novel inspired as well. And really, I mean, it just captures your eyes. He's such an amazing artist, and that's what got us to make this game.
How did that come about, by the way? Did you approach the artist, or did they approach you, or?
So yeah, I met Isago like years ago. I was actually going to Dragon Meet in London, and he lives in London. And I was kind of following his work for a while, and he just started releasing this, and I was reading it and enjoying it, without any kind of plans to make a game around it. But the more I read it, and especially a couple of times that I had a kind of I literally had tears in my eyes because some of these topics that he touches, if you're LGBTQ or if you ever felt like different, or it really gets you. So, and at the same time, the art is amazing, the action is crazy, and this is like so my thing that I was following it. But the more I was reading it, the more I was like, wow, this stuff is very, in some ways, similar to City of Mist. In some ways, it's opposite. City of Mist is a noir, understated story, and this is, like we said, over the top. But in City of Mist, there is the mist that kind of changes perception. Here, it's ignorance, so it's kind of similar. And I said to myself, this would make an awesome game to build with the City of Mist system. And then I approached Isago. He was very excited. He didn't even know what TTRPGs were exactly. He's heard of Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, but he was really excited about it, and we decided to do this. This was just like really recently, maybe 6 months ago.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
it's a pretty good turnaround for the amount of stuff that's out there for this.
yeah. I mean, we had the comic book, which is amazing, and a lot of art to work with, and we had the system, so it was mostly about creating translating and putting into words the universe of Queerz so we can put it in the free demo game.
Right, and that looks looks fantastic. It's
Thank
the
you.
kind of book that would look very nice on a shelf.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we think so too. It looks great. The art is amazing.
Yeah. Are there any other aspects that you'd like to highlight?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything. It's action, it's heartfelt, it combines these two things. You can punch your villains and then you can maybe become friends with them again. So it's it's a really cool story. Yeah, we're very very happy to have created this game.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have gotten to talk about it. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on to me. It was great to have you, and it's great to see this.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's great to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to share all of this.
Yeah, for sure. And for those of you watching at home, have a good night.